How was the lunch? Did you enjoy? Okay, great, great, great. So let me do a quick introduction of myself before I begin. So I am Taruna Arora. I am one of the steering committee member for IGDC, and I have been into the gaming industry for last 7 years, holding total 20 years of experience into an IT and gaming industry. If I talk about professionally, I'm a country manager, people and culture, working with Keyword Studios India, and also taking care for Lakshya Digital, which is also part of Keyword Studios. Now coming on to Women in Games initiative, I think you all would be excited to know how we begin with the Women in Games initiative and also why IGDC took up this. So some of you might be present last year when we conducted a high tea session for the women. Were anyone of you were there? Okay, there are a couple of hands going up. So what we did over there was a round table discussion, and we did some case studies out there to understand what is that kind of challenges women are facing within their working places. So what has happened was we were really surprised and amused to see the kind of challenges we heard from them and the kind of opportunities they have not been able to gain. And that really amazed us and got us on a table where we can discuss about that, how we can bring that change. And as you know, there is certainly a problem. We do not have a diverse culture, specifically in the gaming industry. It's only 10% women in India specifically we talk about. And as you grow the ladder, it reduces, the number reduces. I mean, when we were doing hirings, we were hardly able to find women at mid and the senior level, and we really want to grow the women internally. Now, even for that growth, we need to have women at the baseline. And there has been a lot of challenges with the India culture, and especially women coming from different cities, small cities and all. So it has become really imperative that we really need to act on it, and that's where IGDC stepped in and thought of bringing in, this is a place where we can have women to network around, understand each other, what kind of challenges they come across, and support each other so that they can grow and thrive within the industry. That's really important. Do you face these similar challenges? Okay, that's not good to hear, honestly. So it is really, really important that we address it. And to address it, we really need people, specifically also the male allies. That is really important because we together can bring that kind of a change. And I think IGDC is a great body which can support us in this kind of initiative, and we want to create a platform. Now, on this platform, there would be a lot of opportunities which would be given to women, and we'll be working around on a lot of workshops to upskill the women, also to do tie-ups with the industry people, be it the gaming industry or the IT industry, to understand what kind of opportunities can be built in for the women. Now, this would be internship programs, job opportunities. We also want to work around on some of the policy framework which can really be put across within the organization. So it's not only about the opportunities. The moment you get on the floor, there is a huge challenge. I mean, I have myself found I'm the only woman on the space, and around me there are a lot of men. Now pitching in any point out there becomes really challenging, and how to really put across your point, get them to an agreement, because again we already hold different viewpoints. So these were some of the thoughts which came across, and now again there was another challenge to bring in more women for mid and senior level role. So there were thoughts that why not to reach out to other industry, bring in talent from there, and maybe bring in opportunities within the organization. And that was the thought, and we had this kind of a discussion, and then IGDC stepped in, and in March 24 we could bring in this kind of an initiative. Now, when we brought in this initiative, we thought of how to penetrate in different cities, and that's where we built in a steering committee. So I myself is part of the steering committee. We have Shilpa Bhatt from 99 Games, and she she couldn't make it this time because of some personal commitment, but she's been involved in this initiative, and she has been helping us around. And then we have Nirmala Menon, she is here, and she'll be running one of the master class here with us. So that is the initiative that has taken place. And now coming on to the IGDCs, what will happen? Sorry, I got a little nervous, yeah? So, okay. So now what we'll be doing we'll be doing this women track today. And during this women track, what we'll be taking up is some of these sessions which will be happening. To begin with, we'll have a session with Phillips, who is the Art Service Line Director for Keyword Studios India, who will also be sharing how we can leverage soft skill and confidence, because you're already qualified, right? Now, how can you leverage your soft skills and confidence, and how you can penetrate within the industry, reach out to people, and establish yourself. Followed by, we'll have a panel discussion. We'll talk about women perspective on video game, industry challenges and opportunities. Then we'll have a master class which will be taken by Nirmala Menon, a fair game decoding the gender gap. And then we'll also have an open discussion with all of you to understand, what is that you people are looking forward, which we can bring in, right? What is that you expect from IGDC Women in Games? And that's where the role of our city chapters will come up. Our city chapters, so what we have done is we had a steering committee, and then we have established the city chapters to begin with in the 4 cities, which is Hyderabad, Bangalore, Pune, Mumbai, and Delhi. And now how these city chapters are working around is they are networking with the local women, understanding what kind of challenges they are coming across, and how we can support them with that. Besides that, we are also looking out for opportunities to go to various schools, colleges, network with them, and understand, and let the women know there, the girls know there, that what kind of opportunities exist in the gaming industry. So I'll just give this as a note, and now I can request Tara to come over and take the stage. Thank you.
Hear me okay? We're good? Oh, it's so exciting to see so many amazing female faces in this room. This is very exciting. So today I'm going to be talking about leveraging our soft skills and raising our confidence in order to have us feel like we have a place in this industry, and to encourage everyone to kind of go after the things that they're passionate about and that they want to be successful in. So I am the Director of Art Services for Keyword Studios. Keywords is an international group of studios. I think we're somewhere around 75 studios across the world that focus on different areas of service provision for the games industry. Inside of our art services, we have 6 different studios across the world, one of them being Laksha. And so this is kind of the area that I sit inside of. I have this thing, so that means I can move around and talk, and that's great. So a couple of quick little personal fun facts about myself so that you guys get a sense of who I am. And I'm really hoping that this kind of becomes a bit of a safe space for us to get to know each other. I have 2 daughters. They're 6 and 7. I am a powerlifter. I've been doing that for 3 years. I absolutely love it. It's amazing. I'm from Canada, so I live in Toronto, but I've had the amazing opportunity to live in both the Netherlands and Australia at different points in my life. I am a Dungeons & Dragons player and a huge fan of the franchise. I'm a huge Star Trek nerd. That is a photoshopped picture of my firstborn baby in a captain's chair on the Enterprise. I can't ski, snowboard, or skate, so I'm a terrible Canadian. I love to cook. For probably 4 or 5 years while I was going to college, and shortly after, I worked in professional kitchens. So that's me. Hi. And then I'm really into history, culture, and the art of tattoos, in case that wasn't obvious. And I really love ancient history and mythology. I think that it's super inspirational to see, where we come from culturally as people. So I started in the industry as an artist. I'm an artist first, always. So I'm just going to quickly give you guys some examples of the kind of work that I love to do. Thank you. In my role nowadays, I don't get to do a lot of art anymore, but I still do it for, personal joy. I've had the incredible honor of being involved in amazing games over the years. Some of these games I've been directly involved in production. Other games I've been more sort of on a management side, and I've held a number of different roles, so I kind of participate at different levels inside of working on some of these incredible games. So let's get to know each other a little bit here inside of this room, and I'm hoping that we can bring up some energy and so on. So my first kind of questions here is getting to know who you are and why you're here today. I'm curious, and maybe like with just a show of hands, how many people are here this week looking for a job? Okay, all right, okay. Interesting, good, okay. How many people are here just to be connecting with other industry people? Okay, cool, great, awesome. How many people are here to kind of like gain some secret piece of industry knowledge that's going to, yes, I love it, yes. And how many people are here sort of seeking a space of belonging and finding, people to build community around and so on? Great, awesome. You are all in the right place. I'm glad to have you here. So, if you're looking for a job right now, we're gonna get moving a little bit. I want you to stand up. Okay, cool. Now, stay standing if you feel 100% qualified for whatever job it is that you're trying to go for right now. Oh, I love this. Yay! Okay, awesome. Great. So if you've already got, so you guys can sit down now. Thank you. Thank you for participating. And take note, everybody else in the room who was just standing up so you can go and talk to them, because guess what? They're 100% qualified. Okay? If you already have a job in the industry, stand up. Amazing. All right, okay, cool. Now, stay standing. No, you can't sit down yet. You have a job to do still. So stay standing if you feel on a daily basis like you're 100% qualified for what you're being asked to do. All right, oh, this is awesome. I love this. I was anticipating that there was going to be more people. You guys can sit down, sorry, yes. Now you're allowed. I give you permission. I was anticipating that there was going to be a lower confidence level, which I'm super excited to see. So maybe this presentation is going to be like, I already know all of this stuff. I'm not really sure why I'm here. But we're going to go through it anyways, and hopefully, some of these additional tips and things are going to help you continue to be amazing. So why am I here today? This is also a fair question. I'm here because, well, first of all, I came to visit India for the first time in July this year, and I was super inspired by, what's going on here in India and this, this push inside of the industry for growth, and also like the support for growth for women. We heard from Taruna that, there's 10% of the people in the industry are women. In North America, I think it's something like 22%, so it's not actually that much significantly higher. And I think the UK is something like 40-ish%, so they're doing pretty well. I strongly believe in the power of representation, and I've been very, very fortunate in my career to have some very strong and inspirational women around me that, let me see that it was possible for me to see myself in these leadership roles as I've grown and as I've developed my career. I also am here because I love to learn from the unique life experiences of others. So what makes me a better person, a better employee, a better creative, a better mom, all of those things is to experience more of the world, meet more people, understand where people come from, and continue to build that empathy, right? So that's very important to me. And then I believe in the importance of mentorship. So the more that I learn and the more that I gain value from the people around me, the more I want to give back, right? I think that mentorship is super important in terms of adding jet fuel to how our industry grows and develops, and so that's really important to me. And preparing talks forces me to hold up a mirror to myself. There's not a lot of time that I get to take where I take a step back and I look at where I am in my career, how did I get here, what do I know, right? And that's that process of taking a step back and holding up a mirror is an amazing opportunity to look at and acknowledge, where you've come and what you've learned and all that. And so it helps grow me and my confidence as well to develop these kinds of talks and come and deliver them. So thank you for having me. This is my first IGDC as well, so I'm full of excitement all around right now. So as I thought about this talk and also about women in games and how many other people have come before me to kind of say amazing things about and give advice about being a part of this industry, I started to think, well, what do I have to add to the amazing ecosystem of all of that information? And so I looked to other amazing women in the world who have made huge impacts. And so throughout this presentation, there's going to be some quotes from some really awesome women out there in the world that have done amazing things. And if any of these women are unknown to you, I have little footnotes for each of them to kind of say this is who they are, this is what they did. And feel free to take pictures of the slides or whatever and go and look them up after, because some of those stories are really inspirational. So as women, we tend to wait until we tick all of the boxes before we go after a new role or a promotion or a job or anything, right? And we're going to talk a little bit about that. But there was a study that I think people are pretty aware of. It's all over LinkedIn, right? Everybody always talks about this study that was done by the Harvard Business Review, where women tend to apply for jobs only when they believe that they meet 100% of the qualifications, while men apply when they meet about 60% of the requirements, right? And this isn't why I think this is interesting is not because women aren't good and men are better and all these kinds of things. That's not what this to me is about. To me, I think it's interesting to think about, well, what is it that is enabling men to do this, right? What's the secret sauce that's there? And what could we learn from our own perspective and our own approach to how we go after things inside of our careers? What could we take from that, right? So here's our first quote of the day. If your dreams do not scare you, they are not big enough. I will say, from my own experience, every time that I've taken on a new role, I have been absolutely terrified. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I've never done this job before. And I think if we're in a position of feeling afraid, that's probably a good thing. Because you can't grow and you can't become more and better and stronger and all those things if we're not facing unknowns, right? If we constantly do things that we know how to do, we're going to just keep doing things that we know how to do and we're never going to get better, right? The other thing is that Rosa Parks said, if I have learned anything over the years, it's that when one's mind is made up, this diminishes fear. So it's not about getting rid of fear or ignoring fear. It's about knowing what you want, and even if you're afraid, you can go after it, and then that fear is able to be overcome. So if we talk about the perception of qualifications, so we're going after a job, we're going after a promotion, we want to do something new that we haven't done before. Maybe it's, I want to go to school for this thing, but I'm afraid what people are going to think, or is there going to be a place for me? Men may view job requirements as a wish list rather than strict criteria. And I think this is really important, focusing on the requirements that they do meet rather than on what they lack. I'm going to speak for myself. You guys are going to hear a lot about like my life journey and kind of where I've come from and what I've worked through to get where I am now. And for me personally, I find that I tend to think about all of the ways that I don't measure up, right? And then I devalue the things that I am amazing at. And this is like a constant story that goes on in my head, right? And it's like a safety mechanism, right? Because if you can create all these stories as to why you don't measure up, then that means you don't have to ever do anything uncomfortable, right? But what if, instead of focusing on all of the things that we lack, we accept the things that we can't be perfect on, and we say we can always grow those things, but here's all these amazing things that we already do have, right? And so a little bit later on in the session, I'll talk about what I call kind of core soft skills. And part of the way that we think about ourselves and what we bring to the table is to go through an effort of understanding ourselves, right? Self-awareness, what are our soft skills that we, inherently hold and carry forward as we go through our careers. I love Eleanor Roosevelt quotes. There's a couple of them here in this presentation. She was an amazing human being. I love this quote. It is up on my wall behind my computer because I need to remind myself of this very often. A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong it is until it's in hot water. And, I think women are really amazing at this, right? We may not think about what is possible for us proactively, right? And we tend to hold ourselves back. But if something happens, right, and we're in it, we're amazing, right? We just get it done because there is no other option, right? And so, how can we put ourselves in hot water more often so that we can know how strong we are? So we talk about confidence and the risk-taking mindset. Men tend to believe that their skills will grow into the role, or that their existing strengths can make up for any gaps in qualifications, and they highlight their potential over proven experience. I'm going to say that one again. They highlight their potential over proven experience. And again, when we think about potential rather than proven experience, that opens up this huge door of a story that you get to tell to a hiring manager or to, an admissions board or, whatever it is that you're trying to go after. Because then you're talking about what you will do, and you don't necessarily have to focus on what you have already done. And I think that this takes, again, that self-awareness of, who am I, what value do I bring, and what kind of story can I tell around that. So this is where I want to talk a little bit about building that self-awareness of what are your inherent soft skills, right? What are these things that don't just show up in your professional life, they show up in your personal life, in your community, how you are with other people, who you are for your family, for your friends, with your kids, all of those things. So here are kind of the 6 sort of foundational soft skills that I have, that I've sort of identified inside of myself. One I'm a collaborative problem solver. Collaborative is important. I'm not always great at problem solving in isolation. I need to be able to talk it out and have somebody, work back and forth with me. If that's one person, if it's a group of people, this is where, I'm an artist, right? So for me, it's about, how can I create together with somebody? So I'm a collaborative problem solver. I'm an empathic listener. So this is something I've always been, I maybe to my detriment sometimes, I feel very strongly what other people feel. And this, I think, helps me to hold more than one truth in my hands at the same time. I'm a creative. I'm an active observer, meaning I may stay quiet for a while in a large room of people because I'm taking it all in, right? And I'm assessing and I'm trying to figure out, what does this room need, right? How do I fit into this and be, part of what's going on? And then I'm a synthesizing and visual communicator. I speak in a lot of metaphors. People have told me this over and over, and sometimes I mix metaphors and all that stuff, but for me, I have to build a picture in my mind of what I'm trying to say so that I feel like I'm being understood. And then I'm curious by nature, right? I ask a lot of questions, and that's a way that allows me to pick things up quickly and learn. So this is me. You guys are all going to have your own special, set of soft skills. And what's amazing about this is that if we think about what I was saying earlier about the potential of rather than proven experience, you can leverage these soft skills that you have about yourself, and you can tell awesome stories about how you use those skills. And you can tell any kind of story about that, but you can apply it to what that role is going to need, right? So you don't have to show that you've done this in a job before. You just have to say, this is what I know about myself, and this is what I bring to my everyday life. This is what I naturally do, and this is what you get to have if I work with you. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Good old Eleanor. She's amazing. I learned this very strongly after 10 years of marriage. I went through a divorce. And on the other side of that 10 years, I realized how much I wasn't myself in that marriage. And then coming out on the other side of that, being like, who do I get to be, right? And I did a lot of work personally to kind of work through a lot of that, who do I get to be now, right? And I think the thing that I really took away was I let myself turn into something that I didn't recognize. Nobody did that to me, right? I allowed that to happen, and I believed that, right? And so, if we think about our place in the game industry, we already belong here, right? And nobody gets to tell us that this is not for us, right? But we can choose to believe that, or we can choose to say, well, no, thank you very much. I'm going to continue on my way. We can't ignore social conditioning, right? This is a big piece of how we've gotten to where we are right now. Right? Men are socially conditioned to take the leap, right? Which can lead to them approaching job applications with a why not attitude, seeing less risk in potential rejection. Women are conditioned to be as perfect as we can be, right? We have to be a perfect mother, we have to be a perfect spouse, we have to be a perfect daughter, we have to be a perfect student, we have to be able to take care of the house in a certain kind of way, and these are just the expectations that we are raised with. And when we are raised with those expectations, it's very hard to feel like it's okay to not be perfect. And so that is an active decision where we have to say, it's okay if I don't be perfect at this thing, right? And what's the worst that could happen at the end of the day, right? I apply and nobody ever gets back to me. Well, then I go and I do the next thing. What can I learn from it, and so on, right? But we tend to think so much about what are other people going to think. If I submit this application and somebody says, oh, I can't believe that they even applied, look at this application, or whatever, right? We hold ourselves back from those things because we want to be perfect. We want to be ready. And the only thing I can say to that is, if anybody here has kids, when you are pregnant, with your first child, if anybody asks you, are you ready for this? I'm like, heck no. No, there is no being prepared for having kids, and yet we all still do it. The human race is still here. We still do it, and we figure it out, right? We figure it out. So why not, right? You can never leave footprints that last if you are always walking around on tiptoe. Again, we come back to that socialized idea of, women being seen and not heard, right? Women having to be invited into the conversation and told, now it's okay for you to participate, right? So one more thing to think about is the perception of the hiring process. So men may be more inclined to think that job descriptions are aspirational rather than rigid, focusing on whether they can demonstrate potential and enthusiasm rather than strict qualification matching. So again, this is about a world of possibility as opposed to feeling like you need to prove something, right? And so what can we take away in terms of who we are as people? What are our soft skills? How do we communicate what we've already experienced in our lives and apply that as demonstrating potential and enthusiasm rather than needing to, check the boxes in a list of qualifications. Men and women are different, not better, not worse. That difference needs to be celebrated, equal but different. And I think that this is really important. This is not about, men are better, women are worse, whatever. It's about understanding that the diversification of this industry, the diversification of leadership, and where we want to go in building this community is what gives us strength, right? I think that this is really interesting. And not interesting from like a comparison perspective necessarily, but from like what excites me about this is how much potential is there for collaboration, right? This is a list of typically feminine soft skills and typically masculine soft skills. And this is all a generalization, and this isn't like set in stone or anything like that, but in a general way, this is a list of these soft skills. The yellow highlighted ones are ones that exist on both sides, right? So soft skills that we share. The green ones I thought were really interesting because it's the same thing, but it's got different flavors, right? So, we have motivational leadership on the women's soft skill side, but decisive leadership on the men's soft skill side, which is interesting. And then compassionate assertiveness on the women's soft skill side, and just straight up assertiveness on the men's side, right? And again, this is not like we're not shaming anybody. We're not saying like, oh, that's bad and this is better and all that. It's just interesting, right? And the more that we can acknowledge these things and be aware of them, the more we learn how to work together, right? One of the things on the men's soft skill side that is not on the women's soft skill side is right at the very top of the list, which is confidence. And I think that that's interesting because people talk about confidence all the time, right? Oh, I wish I had more confidence. If I had more confidence, I would do blah, 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 right? When I was going through a lot of the I'm restarting my life now, more or less, and who am I and all of that. I did a lot of like self-work, I guess, and I discovered somebody named Mel Robbins, who, if you've never heard of Mel Robbins, she does an amazing podcast. It is fantastic, and she has a quote about confidence, and I think this is the best quote that I've ever seen, or a description of what confidence is, because we talk about confidence all the time. Oh, I wish I had more confidence. But what actually is it? And she says, confidence is not the belief in self. Confidence is the willingness to try. And I'm going to say it one more time because I think it's such an amazing quote. Confidence is not the belief in self. Confidence is the willingness to try. Confidence is a muscle. It's not a thing that you have or don't have. It is a thing that you practice, and it is an action. It is not a state of being, right? I am not a confident person. I think that's like the wrong way to use that word. I love the context of confidence is the willingness to try, right? And that's all any of us can ever do, right? We don't know how things are going to go every time that we do something, and it could go really poorly, right? It could blow up in our faces. That water could be extra hot. But the willingness to try is the thing that keeps us moving, right? And at the end of the day, that's really what confidence is that ability to keep moving. And the other thing to remember about confidence is it's not like a, tick box, I have it now, that's a thing. It's like going to the gym. You work out for 6 months, you've got amazing biceps, right? You've been working on that, it's great, right? But if you stop going to the gym, you don't get to keep the muscles, right? They go away. And so, you have to keep going to the gym. You have to keep using the muscles. Huge game changer in my life has to do with the people around me. So Oprah said, surround yourself only with people who are going to take you higher. And I don't mean that from like a smarmy kind of like, oh, we're all going to like take over the world and whatever. More so from the perspective of the people who are around you are a reflection of who you're going to become. And huge game changer for me was so I have amazing friends, and I don't have loads of very close friends. I'm very specific about the people who, are close to me. And I have a couple of very, very amazing female friends. And when I was going through a lot of things, the way that they would talk to me about how impressed they were, about how I was handling everything and what I was doing, and all of these moves I was making, and I was starting a new job, and I took over my mortgage, and like all of these things that I was doing. And they're like, you're so incredible, right? You're so inspiring. It's so wonderful to see you like take charge of your life and do all of these things. Did I believe any of that? Absolutely not. I was like, this is the worst. I am messing everything up. Like, this is how I'm feeling. And when I decided to stop just talking to myself in that way and start letting in what the people around me, how they saw me, right? Like who I was in the world. I started to be able to accept it, right? Because it feels gross to be like, oh yeah, I'm so amazing, and like, yeah, look at me, I'm taking things over, right? But when I started to really hear my friends, and I started to let it in, I started to believe it, right? And so if you're around people who are not very encouraging, or they're jealous of kind of what you're doing and they try to put you down and things like that, that's who you're going to become. You're going to keep talking to yourself in that way. So surround yourself with people who are going to lift you up and not with people who are going to try to keep you small. My last quote is from Jade Redman. She is an amazing Canadian video game producer. And she says, making games is tough, but my career has definitely shown me that the temptation to quit is often greatest before you're about to achieve success. And again, if I think back on my own career and all of the things are like, this is really hard. Like, is it really actually worth it? Is this what I even want to be doing? Like, maybe I just need to, start over again. It's not for me. Every single time, it's like a new chapter turns. For those of you who remember what it was like to, have a radio, somebody described this to me as, when you're in between stations, there's a lot of static, right? And it's super uncomfortable, and you don't like to listen to it, and you don't want to stay there, but you have to go through that like static in between to get to the next clear station and be at that next level, right? And so that really stuck with me, and it's the thing that helps to keep me moving forward and pushing forward when it gets extra hard, because I know that at some point the payoff is going to happen and I'm going to level up to the next thing. So that's it. And we have 5 minutes for questions. If anybody has any comments, questions, want to share anything, I'm happy if people want to share awesome things that have happened. We all get to, clap for it. That's great too. We have a question back here and then up front. I think there's a microphone coming for you.
Yeah, hi. So I'm Avni, and my questions is actually great talk. Actually, a lot of things were really resonating with me, and I wanted to ask, when it comes to the hiring process, I've also felt the gap between showcasing more of my soft skill sides as compared to my hard skills, and it's difficult to do that without having the interview be there. So and usually when it comes to the interview round, I'm able to excel it, I'm able to showcase the, full spectrum of my abilities. So how would you go about, showcasing that soft skill side without having, somebody interact with you? And how do I overcome that?
Yeah, that's a tricky one, especially if you're coming with no prior experience, right? I mean, there's always things that you can point to, right? Whether it's your education and some of the things that you've participated in inside of your school, or if you have other work experience, if you babysat or took care of young kids, or all of these kinds of things are things that you can bring up. I know it's never going to look quite the same as I worked at so-and-so company that is, in this industry that, is comparable and so on. And maybe what you need to do is spend a year working in something that's not your industry necessarily, to work on having, something to put on the resume and be able to sort of show some of those hard skills, which I know is, not the answer you're looking for. But I hear you. I was struggling to think through that as well, and I was hoping nobody's going to ask that question. But yeah, that is a struggle. Is how do you make yourself look good on paper so that you can have the opportunity to show yourself? The other thing is coming to things like this and doing the networking, which helps you to bypass that process of the resume side. And actually build some of those relationships in person, so that they're like, oh yeah, that person. I don't even really care what their resume looks like. That's just that's a formality. I like this person, right? So coming to things like this is also super important. I think we had a question here, and then we'll go over there. Oh.
Hello. I just wanted to ask one question. So
yeah.
you have been saying that regarding how there should be more women in the gaming industry and that kind of stuff. But do you think that the gaming industry is doing enough to make this an aspirational job for women in general? Because what happens is that when you're growing up, what I have seen from my circle is that the boys would be more interested in gaming, who are interested in gaming, think that going into the industry is more of an aspiration for them.
Mm-hmm.
But that value is not being, I personally feel that that value is not being perceived like that by the women in general, because when you ask them regarding the gaming industry as such, or taking up a job or something like that, that pursued value, let's say to a beauty industry, would be much higher than to a gaming industry. So is the industry doing enough to make it an aspirational job profile?
I don't know what it looks like necessarily in India and how it compares to North America. I think because games have been much more, of a cultural staple in North America, that has sort of more naturally changed. And the reason why women weren't taking jobs in the industry was more because it was really overtaken by men, but it's not because they weren't interested, right? And I guess my question is it similar in India, or have girls like just not grown up playing games at all, and it's just a totally new thing? Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if I'm qualified to be able to answer that question, because I don't have a deep enough understanding of like the cultural implications of things. But I would love. Is there like a workshopy thing happening at some point today? Maybe that's like a great thing for the room to discuss. Yes, amazing. I think we have a question over here. Oh, my time is up. Do we have time for one more question? No? Yes? No? Oh. Yeah.
Yesterday I ran into her. She said my advice actually helped her tremendously, and I just want to reiterate that. The confidence part. I got a job and said, I know I don't qualify for this job, but I believe my ability to learn. Give me a chance, and I will show you. And I use that in salary negotiation, because women get lowball all the time. And I will tell them, this is the salary I expect, and this is the salary you're offering. That's fine. Give me 3 months. If I perform on par or above your expectation, bring me to the salary I asked for. Has worked for me every time, and she said it actually worked for her and her peers. And I think having that leverage, you don't have to show what you can do. Just by saying you have a confidence you can deliver, people already know, because you won't say that unless they know you're going to try, and they have nothing to lose because they know you're going to be a hard worker, that you come with talent. So I just want to reiterate that in case you guys didn't see the video last year. I think that's helped me a lot in my career, and I think it can help a lot of people here. Just to, like the earlier time was saying that they don't have a lot of experience. Just by admitting you don't have the experience, but you will deliver, I think that can go a long way. That's all.
Yeah, absolutely. And bringing that back to your soft skills and saying, here, oh yeah, also, by the way, yes, thank you for that. Amazing. And by being able to say, listen, I know I don't have these things, but these are the soft skills that are going to allow me to excel, and I'll prove to you that I'll be able to do this, right? So by being able to identify how you're going to do it, I think is like an extra step inside of that. Thank you very much for sharing. That's my time, and I want whoever's next to go, but thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. I think they will take 2 minutes to set up for the panel discussion which we have next. So maybe, Tara, you can take up one more question by the time they are setting up the stage. That would be an opportunity for them to speak to you. But it was an amazing session. We all loved it. Did you all love it? Yeah. So let's have a